I'm Robin Elander with Global Good Impact, and I am here with Nicole Wald, who is the CEO of Right Kind of Girl. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks, Robin.
Good. I'm so happy to have you here, and I'm excited to learn a little bit about your background and what you're passionate about, and then we'll dive into what you're working on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that some of the things I'm most passionate about, I have a background in education, so I'm really passionate about. I guess where that ties in for me is I'm really passionate about empowering other people. That's why I became a teacher in the first place, and then I went on to teach other teachers. And in some of the work I get to do now, even in my writing, it's all about empowering brands and nonprofits to do the great work that they need to do. So that's kind of at the core of everything. And I like helping to assist really impactful organizations in having a greater impact. And that thrills me.
And you do such a great job at that. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the different projects that you have worked on and in what ways that you've supported them?
Sure. So focusing on events, since that's what you're all about.
Yeah.
My career in writing, I kind of backed into writing. I was teaching. And while I was still a teacher, I started to do a variety of kind of marketing small tasks. And one of those was working with Earth Day to help them do social media and kind of just do a little bit of writing for their press releases and those sorts of things. And then over time, did that for a couple of years, kind of helping out and helping with putting together the festival guide, like all the print materials for that go into a guide that we have for our local newspaper, and putting together the whole all the content for that. And then over time, after a couple of years, it just became pretty apparent that I was kind of already doing so many different things that related to communications that I should just kind of take over the communications. And so for Earth Day Festival in Santa Barbara, that became a role that I played, and I essentially just took on every aspect of communication, from the marketing and the strategy behind the marketing and social media and press relations, so PR, and all the words that flow out from the website or from the calendar events, and just kind of every aspect of getting the event out in the public's eye. I took over, and obviously with a great team of people at the Community Environmental Council that I work with. And that actually led me to doing some other events as well. There are other events in town that I've worked on, and kind of in all of them, I've played similar roles in supporting in everything that has to do with words.
So, that is a lot of stuff that you're doing. There's a lot of coordination of materials, words, content. As you've learned how to do all of this stuff and help major organizations to become more and more visible and kind of really share what they're all about, can you share some tips or just some insights for people who are considering doing something like this? What are how do you orchestrate some of that, and how do you kind of manage the flow of all of that?
That's a really great question and a really important one. I'm actually pretty systems oriented, and that would be my first statement. It would be to set up a system. Project management systems are really important, or content management systems are really important for coordinating all the content that needs to get created. And I've built multiple content management systems over the course of my career, and I've worked in Basecamp and in Trello and in Asana, and just a wide variety depending on what different groups we're using. and also just using Google Docs. I've done it. I've done every iteration of a project management system you can imagine. I've probably done it by this point. But so the first part is just to pick one and go with it. Everyone has their preferences for what's best, but ultimately it is pick one and move with it. Another really important piece as you're planning is to think about building a team, not just trying to have one person do everything content related. For all the years I've been doing this, I always have a team of people that I'm working with. It's not just me doing all of the content. Or I guess I would say not every aspect of it. I've done a lot of the kind of higher level strategy of it, and I've been times when I've done all the writing as well. But even when I've kind of done most of it, I've had at minimum interns to support in some of that work. And so knowing that you kind of have your different buckets. You have your PR, your which includes everything from your press releases and getting things in calendars to op-eds and day of event media relations and connecting with your influencers and all those things that go into PR. So you have your PR bucket, and you have your advertising bucket and your marketing bucket, and that marketing can include your website and can include your social media campaigns and all those things. So just outlining what all the different buckets of content are that you need, and then creating a plan well in advance. So that's the biggest thing that I'm always working to get better at, is to just plan ever more in advance, because the more in advance that you can get in your planning, the more effective and powerful and kind of cohesive your messaging can be, and that means that the more professional your event comes off and the smoother everything seems to run. So much of an event stems from communication.
I keep muting and unmuting because my partner is making something in the kitchen and it's really loud. Thank you for sharing all of that. I'm curious, because there's so many parts to that, how do you split up some of that? You said, you have a team. How would you suggest at least starting to kind of divide up some of those tasks within a team? If ideally, obviously.
Yeah. So, I would say initially you need someone who's kind of the overarching strategy person. They're going to work with if many of these bigger events, you're going to have a big team of people who are working on the different angles. There's a person who's kind of doing the pure event management side of things, which you've done so much of. And then you're going to have people who are maybe, depending on the program, you might have a director of an organization that has say in how they want the event to come off to reflect the organization, or you're going to have just different people you're going to be working with. But I guess I would say it is first identifying who you're going to be working with, and then filling in the gaps of talent. Like, if you have someone in your team who has PR skills, because a lot of PR, I kind of started at a guerrilla state where I didn't really know what I was doing, but I just I've learned along the way, and then learned from both PR professionals and others who had kind of been learning it the hard way like I had. So finding the people who have the talent at different areas. So you might have someone who has PR experience, and so having them be the person who's going about and tackling that. Having some lead. You need a lead person. You need somebody who kind of can see the bigger picture of all of it, and that person can do a lot of the writing if that's where they're at and they have the time and the availability. But it could also be where, you know, one person has the main overarching vision of, okay, I want the website and I want this and I want, like, they kind of direct all the things that they want. And then you can find people who can get those different things done. I know a lot depends on budget. You know, the lower your budget, the more bootstrap and the more one person takes on. So working for, you know, a nonprofit, it tends to be pretty bootstrapped. You know, you do a lot, you do as much as you can.
Right.
And then when you find you can't do more, you find other people to support you. So I would say, yeah, so looking for talent, and looking for the talents that are in your own team. If you already have a team, finding out who's the social media guru. And by guru, I don't necessarily mean that they've been trained in it. I mean that they are someone who lives in that world and is excited about doing it. There is obviously promoting an event through social media is not the same as your personal account, and it isn't quite the same. But if you have someone who's really excited about it and who engages in social media a lot, they're going to be excited to learn about the different strategies and business tactics that need to go into planning out your content for social media. And so getting the person who is excited about doing the work is great. And if you have someone on your team who already does have that kind of interest, let them follow it and see where it goes. And again, kind of going back to always using, you have someone who's kind of overseeing it all so that it all flows together, and that the messaging that you're putting out across all the channels is consistent. And in order to, like, I'm really good about, I love optimizing. And so, you know, making sure that you start, I guess I should have said this a while ago, but, you know, the key thing is to start with your overall vision of, like, what is our messaging? What's our voice? How do we want to talk about this event? What kind of vibe does our event have? And letting everything kind of flow from that, so that all the messaging is cohesive to the overarching purpose and vision of your event. I think I'm a little bit off topic there, but yeah.
With imagery as well too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it all flows to that. So that's actually something I should speak more to. So I'm not an image person. I'm a word person. I can help direct images, but I am a word person. So just in the same way, you know, you find your graphic designer that you're going to work with, and you find your person who can build the website, and you just find those people. And sometimes, you know, many times, like, they can be the same people doing multiple tasks. But it's just identifying what tasks need to get done and then filling in those slots, I think, is the simplest answer I can give.
Now that orchestrating all of that when it comes together is just such a beautiful thing. And to see, just to know how you do that just a little bit is so impressive. I just have to give you kudos for all of the different projects I've seen you orchestrate. It's really, really special. I wanted to just check in with you on, you said you use different types of project management software, but as people are just starting out, whether they use a project management software or they just want to kind of calendar out, whether it's social media, some email blasts, all of that stuff. Can you talk a little bit about just initially how to get started with some of that? Maybe you are doing something either smaller or moving towards large scale. Do you just use an Excel sheet? Do you just say, I'm going to do this twice a week? Or can you just speak a little bit to that? Because I think that can be overwhelming for people. Like, you know, you need a plan. You should be consistent about it. But what kind of consistency would you say is something you want to shoot for, and then how to start?
Sure. So, I mean, I think I started on a spreadsheet. That actually I started in a Word doc probably before I was using Google Sheets or Google Doc and the whole Drive system. But which you know, for me, because that's where I err towards. I like the collaborative nature of those. So starting on something like a Google Doc, Google Drive can be really to start out. it's perfectly fine. And it's a great way to kind of wrap your head around what needs to happen. So I guess I would say, in terms of, scheduling out, you would say, okay, I'm again, it's so funny that, as a writer, a lot of what I think about in terms of my strategy relates back to what I did in my teaching days. So I backwards map, right? So you kind of go, okay, here's our end date. Here's when the day of the festival or the big event, whatever it happens to be. And okay, so how far back do I need to send out a press release to make sure that the media knows about it? And that can just involve a little bit of research of, you can honestly Google and find some really great generic plans that you can modify for your own use. There's untold numbers out there. You can find those and then tweak them. And what a good plan will do is kind of gives you a basic timeline that does a good job of backwards mapping from the event to go, okay, 4 weeks before we need to have this sent out, and 5 weeks before we need to have the ads placed because the ads are due on this date. So you can literally start with a spreadsheet that just has the months and the days, and maybe across the top the different kinds of things you want to get done, and then just plug things in. Like, okay, I know that if we're talking about our local town as the Independent, and that's one of the major news sources for our area. Okay, well, I know that in order to get on their best bets, you need to be in their system about 3 weeks in advance, so that then you can email about a week in advance and make sure that the person who's in charge of that knows that, or to ask them if they'd be willing to feature the event. So it's really just about getting it all recorded. And I think in the same way that I said earlier of, in the same way you're finding your talent, like what you need to get done and you plug in all the different pieces, when you kind of backwards map from your event date and then plug in the different kinds of communication you're hoping to happen, then you can just kind of write it down and it becomes more manageable, because okay, this far out, several months in advance, I'm going to be working on the website, so that by the time that I need to really be focusing on sending out event media calendar things to all the local media distribution outlets, that work's already done. So now I can focus on social media instead, at this point. So I think, just like I said earlier, the biggest thing is getting started as soon as you can, because then you have the time and space you need to fill in, if it's as simple as a spreadsheet, to fill in the spreadsheet. Start with your event date and then just literally work backwards to where you are today, and then just start to plug in all the things you need to do.
Totally agree with starting super early, because your time just gets filled in magically. And so at least if you have those dates, and for me, if I get them also in my phone as like a reminder of like time slots to work on things, or to, if whether you're using whatever software, Trello, and then you can kind of back it into that system and you can assign tasks to people. So all of that is super helpful, just to kind of give that overview. I think we're getting close to needing to wrap up, but I'm wondering, is there anything else that you would like to share? Any insights you've learned over the course of some of these major projects you've been working on that are kind of key, like must-dos as you're considering this kind of endeavor?
Oh boy.
Here's some really good ones. So, I mean, you covered the crux of them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say that well, first and foremost, you need to go in with flexibility, because things are going to change every single time. I've been doing Earth Day now since, or helping produce that since 2011, and no year has ever been remotely like the one prior. Our timelines are always drastically different because it's the nature of events. the weather changes, the people who are going to be involved, someone gets sick, someone really exciting decides to show up at your event. All these different things happen, and so you have to be prepared for flexibility. I think that and kind of go in with a can-do attitude. That always, just if you were the person leading the event particularly, or actually at any level, if you're involved in an event in any way, being a person who has a smile on their face and they can do, yep, okay, this happened, but we're gonna make it work and go this way with it. That will make you successful, because the nature of events is that they, like I said, they're always changing. There's no way around that, but we can always control how we respond to those changes and how we're helping the team around us to thrive in spite of or because of those changes. So I think those are really important things also that kind of are at a more basic human level of how you how your energy kind of just impacts the rest of your team.
Absolutely. Awesome. So if anyone wants to reach out to you, if they need some content strategy help, how can they reach you?
Sure. They can email me at Nicole@rightkindagirl.com, or they can go to my website. So it's Right, WRITE, Kinda, KINDA, girl, GIRL.com. There's a form there you can fill out just to reach out and say, hey, I'm here. And I am always excited to work with new groups that are doing great things in the world.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all of your expertise and time here today. And I wish you the best of luck with all the goodness that you have going on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robin. Have a great day.